He's like Shrek without a donkey. Dicks out. From Ohio to Zimbabwe. Dicks out. Dicks out for Harambe. Dicks out. Like a cocktail from Bill Cosby. Dicks out. Like a primate fucking zombie. Dicks out. He's like, damn, somebody shot me. Dicks out. Dicks out for Harambe.
Welcome, guys, to the Deviant Gentleman podcast. My name is Shane Vitko, along the master of Vextology, Mr. Tommy Vext.
That's a new one. What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite Uncle Tommy Vext. How are we doing today?
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. It's been a couple. The last episode was pretty amazing.
It was. The feedback's been great.
Yeah, I publicly endorsed Donald Trump.
I saw
on
that.
Instagram.
I saw that.
The internet lost its mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rock media, everybody. I mean, I know that these things happen, but it's funny because I actually started looking at some of the website postings, and I'm like, there's more controversial discussion about this topic than like this lead singer of Tool, who they've sold 40 million records, and people were like, and he came out for Kamala Harris and Biden like the day before me. And it's just like a quarter of the responses. So it's been very interesting.
Well, let me ask you this: because you knew you were going to post that, we kind of talked about it, and Rashad, give me a little bit of juice, will you? And we kind of talked about it, and when you posted that, was there any hesitation or any were you just clear cut, like, you know what, fuck it, it's time, or was there still a part of you that kind of go like, I don't know what this is going to cause, or fuck the backlash?
No, I knew. Look, listen, this is the thing. I had been leaning towards voting libertarian for most of the year. Like, to be honest, there is absolutely no way I would ever, by May, Joe lost me. I was like, there's no way. Like, there's absolutely no possible way. And then additionally adding Kamala Harris, I was like, there's definitely no way I can bring myself to do this. And, I just kind of, to me, it was really wrestling with the reality and, the doomsday scenarios of what could potentially happen to this country if Joe Biden became president. And I think that it would be nice in 4 years if the Libertarian Party had more power and more exposure. But in the face of impending impending communism and socialism and more control and more government and less freedom, which is exactly an example of what we have seen this year in the response to the pandemic, I had made a decision, and that was my choice. And I investigated a lot, and I've had people call me, and I'm just tired. People are like, dude, how could you, and it's like.
I think a lot of people wanted to know, were you getting in the shower or out of the shower?
What do you mean?
Because you had a towel on.
Oh, I was getting out of the shower.
All right,
yeah.
Just checking. Well, we got another guest.
We do.
Right?
We got a good. It's gonna get spicy in this motherfucker.
It is about to get spicy. So we have 20-year-old Dallas, Texas native, master of the cheerleading gymnastic arts, and what we've learned to realize as of late, a social media journalist of sorts, Mr. Christian Walker. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. I can't wait. So excited.
You're hilarious. First of all,
I'm unique.
Yeah. You're I tried to go through all of your Instagram TVs and I mean it's really an interesting perspective that you have, being you're a young person, and you're openly gay and you're African American.
Holy shit.
And so and so I think it's really interesting how much I don't know how to word this right. So I noticed the difference in how independent, I call you guys independent journalists, right? Because you're researching and then you're giving commentary and reporting it. And some people use comedy and there's you have a lot of flair, and there's shock value to the way that you come in and you get people's attention, but then you start to deliver logic and reason.
Oh, totally. I always start a video out with something crazy like white people are oppressed, which I genuinely do think they are.
Very controversial.
And the left hates when I say things like that, and then I kind of give my own commentary. But yeah.
So when it comes to, that's another interesting point. We've talked about that on the show, that in 2020, the climate has been, I came under a lot of heat when I posted a thing saying, white people, my white friends, I don't want them to apologize for their whiteness. Like being born a certain color. And I'm mixed race. So I'm like,
same.
How can you say that, my mom has no right to talk?
Preach. And furthermore, if we're gonna do these reparations and all this BS, are we gonna get half reparations? Are we gonna it's so ridiculous. It's
just
out
half.
of control.
What do the Native Americans get? I'm
nothing.
Like, I'm kind of like dating a girl who's Native American, and it's interesting. She gets free healthcare, but it's like, it's not good.
And I think if blacks want reparations, they should get them from our black ancestors who sold us into slavery, not white people, but
like from Africa.
If you want reparations so bad, go back to Africa and get them there.
That's very intense. Okay. I don't know how we would be able to track down the slave traders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a way. If we get, what's the fucking 23andMe and all that stuff, we can figure it out. I'm
it's
curious.
A lot of work.
It is. Somebody's bored enough to do it, though. I'm curious to know, you're a young guy, so you recently turned 21?
Yes, I did.
I did. Maybe said 20. So
3 weeks
20,
ago.
21.
Happy birthday.
Man, happy birthday. But shit, man, I don't know about you, but I think about when I was 20 and the type of human being that I was not somebody that could articulate a thought, It was like at that point in time in my life was like, I guess join the military because I don't know what to do. So when I hear guys like you and guys like Edward and these young guys that like are involved and do research and look into this stuff, but me and Tommy were talking prior to the show about, I feel like most people of color, most people who identify as anything other than straight, are handed at birth a ticket to be a Democrat or left-leaning. Just that's because that's the way it goes. So I'm curious to know if it had anything to do with your upbringing or where you came from, or did you start some point Democrat and then as you did your own research start to, come over to the right? Like, how did that go for you?
I think me not being a Democrat and me not giving in to liberal insanity had a lot to do with, yes, growing up, but specifically because I was always an individual. I never had friend groups. My friendships were on the individual spectrum. I spent a lot of time alone. I developed on my own. I didn't feel the need to be in a mob, be pressured into groupthink, which is what the left and Democrats really thrive off of. They thrive off of mobs. They thrive off of placing people into certain groups based on their identity and telling them, okay, well, since you're black, since you're gay, since you're an immigrant, you must vote Democrat. I never gave into that. I didn't grow up like that. So
interesting.
So even further, does that come like from your parents who told you to always have your own voice and like always make your own decisions for yourself?
Maybe so, but I was an elite, or I was a gymnast for 14 years.
You can say elite. It's okay. I can't do fucking handsprings.
Right. I was an elite gymnast for 14 years, and that's an individual sport. You spend a lot of time alone. You spend a lot of time competing against other people. You want to win. It's not really a team sport. You're not out going to parties in 7th grade. You're at the gym. So I think it had to do with that. Mixed in with I'm an only child, mixed in with my mom, who I'm super close with, is super strong-willed. She's an individual, doesn't do friend groups. So I think it was just a culmination of all of that.
And then your family is all athletes. Your dad played football too, right?
Yes, my dad was a football player professionally. My mom ran track in college, so we're athletic.
So there is that kind of, and I know a few athletes, and there is definitely a psychology of you're constantly pushing yourself to be better than the person that you were the day before. And I think that, I watched your kind of criticism. We talked about like LeBron James the other day, and as much as I respect this man as an athlete,
totally,
it's very strange and contradictory to me as an African-American who I made it in America. Like I was a crack baby. I was left at the hospital, right? And I still, I've still come to a place in my life where I'm sober 11 years.
Wow.
I've sold millions of records. I've donated in the past 3 years more than $350,000 to charities.
Wow.
Like and it's not like pat on the back.
No,
these
but
are the
grateful.
things that happen. And then the reason why I love America is because I travel all over the world and I understand that it is a very unique place where someone like me who comes from where I come from is able and capable of becoming who I am today. I have a twin brother. My twin brother is in jail for 20 years for attempted murder, and he's a crackhead.
Wow.
And that's his, like, we had the same circumstances.
But he had a choice.
Yeah, and it's about choices. So, you know, I thought it was very interesting how your take on LeBron's stance and how that affects young African-American people.
Oh, yeah. And I think furthermore, there's this narcissistic, egotistical, arrogant spirit going on in the Black community right now, where they think that every bad thing that happens to them, and when I say Black community, I'm specifically talking about Black leftists, every negative thing that happens to them in the country is because of racism. Where they are at in their life is because of their skin color. And that's just such a cop-out. It doesn't take into account any other possible options. And so LeBron preaching this oppression narrative to young Blacks in the country doesn't help them to reach success, doesn't help them to reach out to other opportunities that they could use to succeed in life. So it's very disappointing to see someone like him with such a reach use his platform in that manner. It's just not helpful.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very insightful. Let me ask you another question. So something that I've experienced, you know, I in very early on in the George Floyd stuff, I did this marker video.
George Floyd, the criminal, or another one?
Well, I'm not going to disrespect the dead, but
yeah,
my public stance on
I just
that.
wanted to make sure. George is a really popular name. So I just wanted to double check.
Apparently Joe Biden called Trump George last night. I'm like,
he did, exactly.
Like,
so I wanted to double
who
check.
is George, dude? First he called him Abraham Lincoln. Now he's calling him George Washington or George Soros, whoever the I don't know. Now we're gonna get completely deleted for that. But yeah, no. So it's I lost my train of thought. My question is that so I got a lot of backlash like on World Star, and a lot of African American leftists do this thing where they're like, you're not really Black because I'm not dark enough, and so you're like I'm wondering. Since that's been my experience, is it a generational thing? Do you get that? Like,
since you light-skinned it.
Every single time I make an observation, which is 3,000% of the time correct, I'm told I'm not actually Black. I don't really know racism like dark Black people do. And pro tip, you don't have to be something to be able to analyze a situation. You don't have to be something to advocate for certain people. You know, the left hates Amy Coney Barrett, but says they're so pro-woman, says they're feminists, they're all of these things because
she have 2 adopted Haitian children?
Yes, and they call her racist. But they say that she's not pro-woman because she doesn't support abortion, but they would love a man who is pro-abortion. So you do not have to be a certain identity to be able to analyze the situation. It's ridiculous. But yes, I do get that.
Do you think that is in and of itself like it's micro prejudice?
It's disgusting.
You know, it's like you're basically people who are complaining about racism then go ahead and then behave this way. Like we talked about the other day. I mean, we were talking about Kelly Osbourne saying, you know, without Latinos, who's going to clean your toilets? And Chelsea Handler reminding 50 Cent that he's Black. It's just like, I'm like, do you guys realize that that's racist? Like, I don't know if people realize that.
Do you get that too? Do you get like the African American community saying how could you, or do you get the LGBTQ community that
we
says
don't claim you, we don't, you know, I don't want to be claimed by anyone, but their whole thing is you have to be their version of Black. You have to be their version of LGBTQ, ABCD, whatever. You have to be their version of everything. And when you're not, they suddenly don't claim you and they declare that you're not that. I think that's the most racist. I think that's the most sexist attitude you could have.
Yeah, for a party that's supposed to be inclusory, right?
Most exclusive party.
I just think it takes a lot of balls, dude. It takes balls to post that picture in your position wearing a MAGA hat. It takes balls every day courage, I guess, right? If we're going to be not sexist or whatever it is in 2020. But it takes courage because very easily you could be told, hey, man, you know, come on, just even if you feel that way, don't. Because we know people like that are in a certain limelight that even though they have the same views as some of us, they still are told, hey, have that in your household, but not through social media. So I think in this day and age of, we talked about this before, of having the courage to, especially for you, man, at 20 years old, 21 years old, to have the courage every day to stand by what you believe in and stand by continuing to put out the same stuff and not switch your stance because of
The mob.
The mob.
yeah, because like you get being bullied into not believing what you want to believe in, which is not what this country stands for.
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird. It's like there's been this kind of effort to turn patriotism into synonymous with racism,
Which is crazy.
and then you see like the Beverly Hills March, and it's just like
so diverse.
everybody's there.
Everybody.
Everybody. There's white people, black people, Jewish people.
Latino.
I heard that. I didn't go last weekend, but there was there were drag queens for Trump. I'm like,
Yeah, Lady MAGA.
I'm like, everybody's in here. Like, it's all like,
Yes.
and that's the difference between, like a Trump rally and a BLM riot is like, everyone's happy.
Totally.
I'm like, don't people see the difference here? Like, everyone here is like, yeah, and hugging, and there's diversity. And I watched the Borat movie, which is like the new Borat movie. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, there's a new one?
Yeah, and it's just like it's just a super liberal propaganda comedy.
Depressing.
And they, he goes to the South, and like, and you're from Texas, and like, but he goes to like the
I saw
deep
his
rural
interview
South.
after about talking
Yeah,
about that.
and like they try to, they try to base, QAnons, and like he hangs out with these redneck guys, and they, and it's like they're telling him all about, they're basically trying to paint all conservatives as racist swamp people. And that's the Hollywood agenda, is to make everybody think, look at these people. And then in the context of the show, the context of the movie is so funny because he's as Borat and he's looking for his daughter who's run away. And it's the two idiot rednecks who love Trump that let a foreigner move into their cabin during COVID so he could be safe, and then help him find his daughter, and then go to the rally where she's speaking and help him find him. And you lose, and like in that whole context, you don't really realize, you're like, oh, you want to judge these people, but look at the thing, like you're ridiculing decency.
Totally.
And then your whole platform is like, we've got to bring back the soulless nation. We've got to bring back decency.
And if you notice, I mean, we've been doing these Beverly Hills Trump rallies for 3 months. The only time it's ever gotten violent is when BLM shows up and they initiate the violence. We've never looted a Gucci store. We've never burned down a building. We've never shot at a cop. We've never defended one of our criminals because there's no criminals there. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then your note on us being diverse. Yeah. And I would say, Trump supporters, we may have different ideas about certain things. I know I'm super passionate about immigration. One of my other friends would be for, Trump putting an amnesty through and legalizing current illegals. I'm not for that, but we're kind to each other. The left, you must all be the same. Sure, they have black trans unicorns, they have immigrant Latinos, they have whatever, but they all think the same.
Yeah, that's Edward was on the show. Your buddy Edward Rame was here.
Love.
Yeah, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, the left. What really stuck out to him is that the far left, they want diversity of skin color, and they want diversity of gender and orientation. But you're not allowed to have diversity of thought.
You say one thing wrong and they cancel you. You can't have any diversity of thought. You can't even explore other avenues of thought.
I think it's
That's
important.
like slavery.
I think it's important what you said too about the picture that Hollywood paints, because it's as simple as me asking you before about what was it like being half white, half black, and identifying as gay and growing up. Is that wrong to say, identifying as gay, or you just go like, I'm gay? Like
I really don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not sensitive.
Okay,
like,
but anyway,
psychopath.
well, thank God. But and next thing you know, the fucking FBI will be outside. But you think about, right, what movies and what Hollywood, everyone depicts Texas to me is that redneck, racist, fucking Hitler youth lives there, and like just nobody can read or write, right? Like that's
Klan.
The South is just depicted as like, man, I say get off my damn property, boy. And
The Elmer
when I went to
Fuddisms.
Texas and where I'm moving now, I've never met more nicer people
So
to me.
nice.
I've never had more people thank me for my service, more people that knew how to approach my dog, whether it was a 7-year-old or a 70-year-old. It said, "May I pet your dog?" and knew how to bend down, not just come over and touch him on the ass like people here in LA that think they're fucking entitled to touch. It's like me walking by and going, "Let me just grab your girl's tits real quick." You know, how's that any different? Like, so
I've never thought about it. Quite like that. I was like, oh,
Good one.
kind of weird.
you know, like you're gonna come up and just touch my dog on the back like that. Like, motherfucker, no, we're not doing that. I don't know you like that. But again, so I went to Texas and here goes out the window. And even when we were going to look there, I'm like, man, I'm worried about where we're going. And like, what if it's just like super, just fucking hay and there's one town fucking store that everyone hangs out at and just a Walmart. And it was completely not that, you know? And the only reason I had that in my head is through what
The
I
media.
know, through the media, through social media, through the memes that people
Hollywood and
make.
stuff. Yeah.
And it's like, that's why do your own goddamn research.
Another thing Hollywood, the media has done is they've made Trump supporters out to be such bad people, such racists, such white supremacists, such homophobes, that any behavior that they do towards us is acceptable. So they're allowed to burn our stores down because in the name of BLM, they're allowed to do whatever because we're Trump supporters. And that's another issue that's going on. I mean, we know we're not racist, we're not white supremacists, but let's say we were, that doesn't excuse your behavior.
Yeah.
What does it take to get an investigation through the FBI or something into BLM? Like, why is that not something that's been initiated, or who's in charge of that?
I think that that's not going to happen unless Trump is reelected and then fires the director of the FBI and the CIA. If you like, I actually just watched yesterday. I took the day off and I watched Trump Card and the Plot Against the President, and when they kind of deconstruct the entire Russian collusion and how they spent millions of tax dollars to illegally, wiretap, investigate, and persecute General Flynn and over a phone call. I read the transcripts. There's literally, and I'm the lead singer of a band, and I'm like, I don't see in these transcripts that are now public information how any of this is illegal at all. And which I can't say the same for like the WikiLeaks, like when I read Hillary's emails and the Podesta emails, and I'm like, yo, what is going on? And then we could forget about I just think about this. Imagine if Donald Trump Jr. was in the same position that Hunter Biden is now.
We would not hear the end of it. And they would also say, well, he's like that because he has such a bad dad. His dad didn't raise him right. It would be all about Trump.
Of course.
Media is silent on Hunter.
Of course.
Silent.
It's almost like, and Twitter keeps pulling down the info. Like every day, new stuff comes out. I mean, it's
bad.
I've seen the videos.
I saw a video.
Yeah, well, there's multiple
the
videos
foot
now.
one?
Yeah, that's gross.
Tommy sent me this thing yesterday, and I didn't even. For a minute, I thought he sent me like some weird porn site because I was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?" I'm like, "Jesus
No,
Christ!"
so allegedly,
one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. I'm like,
there are
Christ, man.
censored photos of Hunter Biden
And his daughter.
forcing his daughter to perform fellatio on him.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, like this is why Joe disappeared.
Yeah.
Because if that's, it keeps getting worse, right? It's like
Every day.
Yeah, here he's doing coke and banging hookers. Like here he is with 2 underage girls. Wait, why is he chopping up coke with Obama's daughter's credit card?
Oh my goodness.
Like, and it just keeps coming and coming, and they're just like, Twitter's like closing trunks with dead bodies. Like, no, nothing to see here. Like, dude,
Yeah, we joked the other day and
bro.
said,
Like,
I don't know if you've seen the movie, but this is like the NC-17 version of the movie Black Sheep with Christopher Farley when the brother's running for
and he's
president.
like a complete
just
mess.
a complete fuck up, and he's like, gotta keep this guy
Real
away
life
from
version.
the election. Yeah.
yeah, except there's no David Spade to save Hunter.
Who is supposed to be? Because again, I'm not like the most informed on as far as politics goes, and I never have claimed to be. But who is supposed to be the? Doesn't choose a side. I don't understand why there isn't a. I am. Can't be influenced by either side, and I am willing to investigate either side equally. Why does that not exist?
Well, it does. I think we are those people. And then what happens is the moderates and the libertarians and moderates now are we get moved. We get kind of the choices at this point is insanity,
yes,
and death, or
I'm gonna just go over here.
Yeah, or live and freedom.
And again, the left forces you to do everything their way. You can't even explore other avenues. You're no longer allowed to be in the middle, or you might as well be a conservative. So it's just.
And what do you think about these tweets and all this shit about people that have wrote like, even if Joe Biden raped me, I'd still vote for him. Even if he molested my kids, I'd still vote for him. Like
the party of decency.
What's your take on that?
The soul of this nation.
I can't. I mean, they make Trump out to be Hitler, and it's I mean, they would vote for anyone over Trump, and I just don't get why. It's because they've been lied to by the media. I mean, a lot of times if you sit down with someone who's sane and can have a conversation and you say all the things that Trump has done. I mean, I have a super liberal friend who I've been working on this whole year, and she's not going to be voting Trump, but she was an anti-Trump Joe Biden voter. And now she's like, I'm just not going to vote because I told her, no, Trump's done all of these things. He's done such great things for the country. You've been lied to by the media.
Yeah, I had my friend Heather we grew up together. And we grew up in a pretty like divided racist neighborhood, and you know, she called me and was like, I just don't understand, like, you know, she's a boxer. I love Heather, like, you know, since we were little kids, and she's like, I just don't understand. And I'm like, dude, Trump is not racist. I have been digging for racist shit on this guy forever, and I cannot find. He's like, well, he didn't denounce this, and I'm like, yo, here's a video of him 67 times.
A million times. And literally. Can I ask you, do you think white supremacy is an issue in the country? Do you think it's an issue in the country? It is not a real thing. It's made up on college campuses. It used to be real.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm 38. I'm old enough to know when it was real. It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was real. I was the only mixed kid in my entire neighborhood. You know what I mean? And I lived in a neighborhood that, like, I grew up here, and it was Irish Italian gangsters, and then it was the projects, and that was it. And then over here was like the Russian mob, and that was Brooklyn. That's it. So, you know, and so people intermixed, you know, kids intermixed because we all went to different schools, but you know, racism as it was in the 80s and 90s stopped, to be honest with you, after 9/11 in New York. That's when I was like, everyone was like, no.
On the same page.
Yeah,
right?
We're like, no, this is not cool. And unfortunately, racism tapped Muslims and people of Middle Eastern descent and was like, you're it now.
Right.
And then that eventually went away.
Right.
You know, as far as to my experience. And then when Obama became president, I mean,
whipped it all up.
I don't know anybody. The only person who has called me a nigger in my adult life has been a liberal. No, a liberal.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sure.
A liberal.
I get called it by black people.
Yeah, same. Oh, they don't even care.
No,
they don't care anymore now. White liberals like, you're a nigger. Like, I'm like, I'm like,
excuse me.
I'm like, that doesn't hurt my feelings.
You're just
you
nuts.
you might as well call me like a cat. Like, I'm not a cat, bro. What the fuck? You know, Dave Chappelle said it best. They're like, oh, well, Dave, you can't say this because you're not Jewish. He's like, well, I say the N-word all the time and I'm not a nigger. Like, it's true. You know, that shit is, to me, I was always raised in Brooklyn. That's your attitude. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you're behaving a certain way, like niggas acting like niggas, that's how we used to, like, you're like, yo, what the fuck are y'all doing?
Right.
What are y'all doing? And it doesn't matter what race it is.
And I just didn't see, I mean, I was raised to just not see color. We just didn't see color. I come from an interracial family. And now they say that not seeing color is racist and you're supposed to see people's color and celebrate it. So it's just never ending. The goalpost never ends.
What do you think? So whoever wins the election wins the election. Oh, by the way, this will be the first time you legally vote, correct?
Yes, I can't wait.
Very exciting time for you.
That's amazing.
Build more of the wall.
So what do you think about after this term? Where do we go from there? How do the Democrats recover from this? I mean, if they win,
oh, we're screwed.
Thank God I'm gonna be in Texas, but you know, if Trump wins and has a chance to clean things up or doesn't, or either one of them, but what's next? What's the next step do you see coming forward as far as from either party?
Well, honestly, the number one thing I'm worried about right now, I do believe Trump is going to win. So I'm worried about 2024 because who cares if we have 4 more years and then we go straight to hell in 2024? My number one issue is immigration. Love immigration control. But I think Trump's next 4 years needs to be about putting out the radical left, putting out this mob that just riots and burns towns down whenever they're upset. That's unacceptable. That's like tribal third world behavior. We're America. We're supposed to be the number one country. We don't do that here. So he needs to put this out.
Well, that's also a direct result of, so what BLM and Antifa do is exactly the same tactics that our U.S. intelligence operatives use to destabilize Iraq, to destabilize Libya. Whenever we don't like a country, we go in there and then we put money in and then we influence and then we put our agents in and they create an uprising to make it look like it's grassroots. There's no way that 33 George Floyd riots could have spontaneously erupted and brick pallets were magically dropped off without somebody footing the bill.
Totally.
Like, you're going to be fucking kidding me. You know, and it's a lot. And to me, I think a lot of it is that, you know, 2020 is like a lot of people are running scared because I think a lot of people did a lot of bad things and they're going to get caught for it, you know?
I'm waiting for that.
But what do you think still, 2024? What's the play?
My hope?
Who's next?
I hope to see the Democratic Party. Now, this isn't a thing to talk that I think is important for people to understand. It's not always Democrat versus Republican. It's about the cabal. Because the Bushes and the McCains are in the cabal. So you have the Obamas, the Clintons, John Kerry, the McCains, Cheney, the Bush family, all these people, they're all homies. The Bidens, they're all friends. So it doesn't matter who they run under if these people are in control. So basically, to me, what Trump needs to do is he needs to take down the political agents of the deep state, and then the deep state needs to be revealed to the public,
please,
of who it is, because there are some people we think we know, but we truly don't know, you know. And so the American people have a right to know.
But do you think in his first 4 years he did what he could, and he needs the next 4 to get that done? Otherwise, why didn't he just get it done in the first 4?
I think about that all the time.
Get rid of the deep state.
Well, he had to build the economy. You know, it's like I mean, to me, it's, some people argue that, he inherited the economy from Obama. And I'm like, well,
oh my gosh, I just got off an interview where they were arguing that. I'm like, please give me a break. Trump's funding HBCUs. He's creating opportunity zones, 2 million jobs for African Americans in 4 years versus Obama's 150,000. No, Trump did the economy.
Yeah. But that's the argument for people on the left is like, they're just like, they're so, they've been so conditioned to believe that he is Hitler, that it could never be true that he could do anything good. And it's like, it's kind of scary. It is scary the way that people automatically go to that. And it's always people who are economically illiterate.
Totally.
Who say these things. And I'm like,
the economy isn't as important as, or buildings and infrastructure isn't as important as Black lives, which just gives them an excuse to go destroy things. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's also not, it's like, yeah.
But again, so the Patriot, who's the next Patriot that steps up and takes the to wave the American flag and run this country?
Well, Trump was so influential because he wasn't a politician. He was just an American who wanted to help American people. So I think the next president, hopefully in 2024, is someone else like that. He's directly for Americans. He doesn't have donors. He doesn't have to worry about, mass immigration. So his donors cost a little bit cheaper. They're bringing in more immigrants, so low wages are going down. No, it needs to be someone who listens to middle America, wants to build the middle class, it needs to be an American, not a politician.
Yeah. And what's it take for the Libertarian Party to finally have enough strength to go against it?
It's money. People vote for who's famous, who they know. So it's like, like an artist can come out, and we've seen this with one-hit wonders. It's the same campaign strategy as the music industry when they want to break an artist. Like, you'll have Carly Rae Jepsen come out with the one-hit wonder, and they'll pump millions of dollars into making sure that this song is heard everywhere, and you see her and da-da-da, and They pay the radio stations, they pay MTV, they pay this, they pay that.
Oh,
They
I didn't
pay
know
the
that.
other artists to put them on social media. You know, so everything is fake. Even when and I'm gonna be I'm gonna be completely transparent. Even the Grammys, you pay. You fucking pay. You don't win, you pay.
I totally
It costs
had no idea.
money. And that's it. And people are gonna be like,
Unbelievable.
yeah,
You
they're
fucking
like,
ruined
I
it.
can't believe it. Like, like
Never fucking watching the Grammys.
and so
again. Damn it.
so in the same way as politics, you have to have the money to make sure that everyone knows who you are. It's very expensive to become famous.
Totally.
You know, like Donald Trump was already famous. Ronald Reagan was already a famous actor. You know, in California, we've had Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor. We've had Clint Eastwood. These people, you know, if they're not career politicians, they have some way of being famous. You know, I think Robert Kennedy running under anything.
If we get his fucking vocal cords fixed.
Yeah, I think he'd be great. And then, you know, and it's like, dude, I would love to see Candace Owen run for office.
Oh, I would
to be
love
honest,
that.
to be honest,
I
like,
want her to get a little experience like in office.
Yeah.
Maybe, but she would be wonderful.
I just think that we need more doers and less promisers.
I would love to see someone like you that's just like just a normal person that was like an Instagram influencing independent journalist become president. I mean,
Like,
if
Twitter
fucking-
yeller.
dude, if Donald Trump can become president, does not every person in the fucking planet stand a chance?
Not too far off. I
Well,
think
I have an issue with that mentality because people are like, oh, well, if Donald Trump could be president, we could have anybody. I'm like, yo, when you say that, you actually you take away from this man's excellence, because whether you like his personality or not, he is a man of excellence when it comes to work ethic, when it comes to business, when it comes to providing, when it comes to building economics, when it comes to changing the infrastructure of communities around the projects that he's building.
PR, media,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
knows what to say.
Yeah, so well, and he also knows what not to say. Sometimes he's got like, I think the late night tweets got to stop, but that's about it. Like that, you know. So I just wanted to. I just don't like. I want.
No, that's fair.
I
That's
respect like, you know, and I respect people of accomplishment. You know,
Right.
and like I know like we are people who everything we have we had to work for. You know what I mean? And so I think that maybe that's why I can't get on board with socialism, because I understand the value of being rewarded for the merit of your work ethic. You know what I mean? And that's what the American dream is.
And I'm a competitor who wants to be all equal. I like beating someone out. I like fighting for it. It's fun. The journey is fun. There would be no joy in being all equal.
I will fucking outshare you when we get out of here. Don't get it twisted, dude.
I'll beat you in a race.
What'd you say?
I'll beat you in a race.
Yeah, you probably definitely will. So you 100% would. What's in store for you? What's a you know, fiery 21-year-old like you doing with yourself these days, other than fucking you know, the social media thing?
Lighting social media.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a student. I go to UCLA. I'm studying Chinese, French, international development. And I mean, I just started this whole political commentary thing in June when the terrorist attack started. So I'm loving what I'm doing. I like commentating on pop culture, on politics. I think I offer an interesting perspective, or I hope I do. So I'd like to continue pursuing this. And yeah.
So kind of like, I guess we asked Edward the same thing, is pursuing journalism something that you'd want to do? Or
I would like, possibly so. I would really like a pop culture political commentary show. I'd like a produced show that I could do my work on a platform, get compensated for it, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, everything I do right now is for free.
do you do a YouTube channel also?
I do have a YouTube channel,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Christian
YouTube, you
Walker.
get the IGTV, the Reels.
TikTok.
You're fucking TikTok. Your Reels are intense, dude. I fired one of those up and had the volume all the way up.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
And there was a finger in the face and screaming, and
Black
I was like,
supremacist.
yeah, I was like, oh man. And it's great, man, because you do this shit and you're like, you know, it's too easy to talk, you know, shit about white liberals. So I'm going to talk about this instead, you know?
Oh my gosh. And that's a huge thing. And this is just a whole different subject. But I think one thing conservatives, and I consider myself to be relative, I mean, I'm a conservative, But one thing they do, one thing they do to show they're not racist is instead of talking about issues going on in the Black community, because there are real issues that we need to talk about, such as crime rates, such as
outside of Chicago.
tons
gun
of
violence, drugs.
They totally preach, but they just talk about white liberals. And notice it's back to just hating white people. No, let's get into the nitty gritty. So I like talking the deeper stuff.
Fucking white people. UCLA, everything's online still, I'm assuming, right?
Everything's online.
California.
Thank God, because they're planning a protest for me the day we get back on campus.
They're going to protest you?
They're going to protest me going to school there.
UCLA is.
That's what I got a DM about, yes.
And when is this?
No idea. I got a DM from someone. They were like, my girlfriend, she goes to UCLA. She's in this group chat. Just want to let you know. Everyone's like trying to plan a protest for your arrival. They don't want you going to school there. I'm like, this is going to be great. I can't wait.
Do you love that shit?
Well, I love it. It exposes their hypocrisy, and it's going to be great for me. I'll be bringing a film crew and security.
You shouldn't
Let
just
me know
do
if
that.
you fucking need anyone.
Yeah.
We're still here.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, y'all
I will walk you to class. I'll be like,
we'll do a counter protest.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get the whole squad.
Save yourself a couple bucks, guy. We'll show up for free.
Like this is you're gonna be the only kid that goes back to school and has like a graduation ceremony. People are like, yeah, he's back. They're like, who are all these people? Like, these are my fans.
Now, do they have a date set for when you guys are supposed to go back in person?
No, and I'm so frustrated. I'm a transfer student. I've been looking so forward to going to school there. Dream school, so good in the subjects I'm studying, and we don't know anything. I'm guessing November 4th we'll know.
And what about the thing with UCLA about you have to be vaccinated? You have to.
Yeah, what about that?
Oh my God, I don't want to get that. But
Do you know anyone that'll make fraud papers for you?
Fraud what?
It's like instead of going to get a fake social security and shit, you're like, yo, man, I need that
there's
paperwork. That says I
gonna
got
be
my vaccination. You got me.
But this is the thing. Like, this is why the vaccine conversation is so fucked up, because in order, like Bill Gates and all these guys, in order to make sure that you don't have fraudulent vaccination paperwork, they want to put RF chips in people that
I
get
can't.
I'm like,
I
no,
can't.
absolutely not.
No.
Like, no.
Such a breach of privacy.
If that's the case, I want to pick where it goes. I'm going to put it right on my ass cheek. So every time I'm going to pull my pants in and like scan my butt cheek, Holmes. Fuck it.
Well, you chode.
Yeah.
You just like,
right underneath.
yeah.
Hold on. Let me get the
Like, have you been
undercarriage. Hit me.
vaccinated? I'm like, yeah, right there. You got to fucking get real close, though. It's fucking terrible.
So UCLA. So what are you doing with? So you moved to LA a year and a half ago, and that was to pursue school.
It was for scholastics, and I was also acting. I actually had a huge project that I was working on, and it was like,
and
it just
it got COVIDized, or
it got COVIDized. It wasn't even me coming out as a conservative, even though that could have been the nail in the coffin. But it was mainly COVID.
How dare you?
Yeah, right. But
COVID is
I'll have
robbed us
better
of
opportunities now.
anything. Yeah.
Did you have? I mean, you have definitely that flair for acting, and you know your energy and all that shit is definitely for the acting thing. Is that something that? What would you say the percentages that you want to kind of put into that?
Oh my gosh, I would give 1,000% if it was an opportunity. But now, just with, I love what I'm doing. I love commentating. I think my energy is totally there.
I would also say
it'll be interesting to see when things open up again, if your platform could be turned into a stand-up situation. Because a lot of people who are stand-up comics that do really well have a background in physicality. So when you are able to like tell stories and you are a physical person in your body, it's more engaging on a stage.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought about that too. I was like, oh, this guy would be good on stage talking, like almost like you could call it like walk and talk with Christian Walker. And you're like, all right, everybody, sit down. You know?
I also think there's a thirst for like people who aren't scared of cancel culture, or like shock jocks, or people who are saying things that are, not allowed to be said anymore. And I definitely do a lot of that.
How many pictures kneeling down posing do you think you have on Instagram?
Oh my gosh, I only have like 3. Give me a break.
What about modeling? Has that been a thing?
I did for a while. I'm only 5'9", so
You short motherfucker.
I know, but I like being short and tiny.
Yeah, but that's in the modeling community. They're very racist if you're under.
What do you call it if you're are you a heightist?
A heightist.
Yeah, heightist. That's like all chicks on dating apps. They're like, must be 6 foot. I'm like, you look like a gremlin. I'm like,
I want affirmative action for short white guys in the NBA.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Heightism.
that would destroy the NBA.
Yeah, well, we do it in school.
What's fair is fair. Wow. Well, yeah.
Right.
Can't argue with that.
Well, fuck, man.
You're just like, I've asked every question I could possibly ask. Tell me about the transition from gymnastics, which are your roots, into cheerleading, and what is that like?
Oh, that was so I always specifically liked floor exercise and tumbling, so it was super easy. I just got to do more of what I liked. But cheerleading is a team sport. There's a lot more drama, so that was new for me. It wasn't just me.
Did you like it?
It's not new anymore.
No, I did like it because I typically, I mean, I wasn't the only one, but I would kind of take control of the team. Right. I never lost a world championship.
Hey.
I never lost. Yeah, no. So it was cool to kind of like round people up and get them together and be bossy.
Were you the captain? They have like a captain in the cheer
We didn't
squad,
have
right?
captains, but I would crown myself
so,
as one of the captains, yes.
All right.
Everyone checked in with you first.
They got yelled at if they effed out.
You know what's crazy is back in my day, right? I'm 40, so if a guy was a cheerleader back in my time, it was not the coolest thing you could do. But when I was in the Army, my first lieutenant was a cheerleader, and we were like, "Come on, man, stop fucking around." And he was a shorter fella and jacked up. I'm not gonna say his name, I should, but he was, it had no qualms about it, and he was pretty good. He was a good soldier. He had sometimes shit for brains, but I always used to think to myself, like, I couldn't even picture that at the time, because in my world, in my head, that didn't make sense to me, because when I grew up in Boston, there was no guys that were cheerleaders.
Well, just to check you real quick, I didn't cheer on the field or anything. I wasn't a DCC. I wasn't.
No, this was like, he was like a college one or whatever.
I didn't even do that.
Straight up competitions.
Competition. Yes. Let me
don't
get
they
you
make
together.
movies about that?
Yes,
what
they
are the
do.
movies? Like Step It Up
But the
2,
movies
Bring It On
they're
7.
Not, yes, the movies aren't even good either. But
right.
yeah, no. TMZ would always ask my dad.
People that do that shit, sorry, but
No,
people that do that shit aren't like, I didn't even know that there was like, you cheerlead for teams and sports, but then just, hey, I'm going to cheer competitively just at open competitions.
I was just that. I didn't do all the bull.
There's big money in that too. I mean, dude,
but I would
sport,
think that most of those people like either grew up doing that in school and then went, hey, I want to do competitive cheer. I didn't even know that. I thought, it's almost like you have to have a resume of like, where have you done cheer? I didn't even know that it was hey, like that right now I could just go be like, you know what, I'm going to be a fucking competitive cheerleader, and they're not going to be like, where did you cheer first, sir?
No, it's big in the South. When you move, I'm sure you'll hear a lot more about it. But
wait.
People start at like 4 years old and cheer through college, and
so it's kind of like a pageant thing too. Like it's that,
well,
not
it's
like
a sport.
It's not. Yeah,
it's like a sport, sir.
Yeah, pageants aren't as cool. I don't want to get it twisted, but that's very interesting.
He pulled your foot out of your mouth for you.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, it's not like a pageant. It's like gymnastics.
Well, no, what I mean is how it's so that's something they love so much in Texas as opposed to Boston. I never really heard about pageants.
I mean, it's like. Well, there's a time. Well, obviously, I'm sitting here watching you guys, and there's like a time capsule, right? There's a time capsule difference that I'm on. I understand what he's talking about. I also know what you're talking about, and it's interesting because that is, like competitive cheering is, you go to Louisiana, you go to Texas, you go to
Georgia.
Alabama, Georgia, like, dude, they're into that. It's pretty intense, and then Boston, New York, we don't have that
crap.
but mostly it's because nobody's happy in the
right
up there.
Right.
It's cold.
They're just waiting for the snow.
It's just cold and miserable. People are in the bar. They don't got time to be like, yeah, all right, let's do something.
Even when the winter hits, you just going, fuck, I know the snow's coming. I hate my life.
And it was kind of funny because, like, okay, there's this word we have in the cheer world called cheerlebrity, and it's someone who's like a big deal in the cheer world.
I kind of figured that. Okay.
I was kind of a cheer-lebrity just because I had my dad and he was a football player and that was controversial. And the cheer world now is super left. When I did it, I mean, politics wasn't as big of a deal, or it didn't seem like it was. And so watching the cheer community just turn on me after I started talking politics has been a joy. It's been so fun.
Yeah, but that can't be. That doesn't fucking burn your ass a little bit? All these people, all this thing
all these
that
people smoking weed, don't have a job, at home living with their parents at 27. No, I'm all good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah.
But I think it's like, even still, when you invest those kind of things and everything, and where you thought you had love from certain people and then you don't, you find out that because you feel or think a certain way now that it's gone, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's traumatic.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit hard, but I mean, truth is more important to me. So.
Yeah. And again, this is another thing that brings to me the fact that you have courage. And I must say, like, especially like, so I'm the youngest of 8, but I only grew up with 4 of my older sisters, but they were a lot older. So I was an only child. And I think about that, how different we were in the way of I needed stimulation. Being at home was not a safe place for me. My dad was a lunatic and sometimes. And I always wanted to be with my friends. What was the next thing? We're either playing hockey, we're going to ride bikes, we're going here, we're going there. And like, unless it's time for me to go home and go to bed and have dinner, or do I still even have an hour to go back out? Like, always stimulating. So to me, it's so, and I ended up becoming a heroin addict. And like, I've had a lot of this shit. So when I see somebody that's kind of, although as different as we are, some of the similarities and how you were able to go this route and on your own, learn these things and stay to yourself and be okay with that and not turn to drugs and alcohol and be here at 20 and be so tuned in is just, it's
remarkable.
It is. It's remarkable, man.
It is.
It's one of those things that, and I know Tommy knows what I'm talking about. And I just go like, it's, and it is remarkable. It's not even envy. It's remarkable that you had the ability to fall into that, which I fell into. Self-pity. It's not fair. My mom died. It's not fair. My dad. It's not fair. Where I grew up. It's not fair. Wah, get me a fucking tissue. It's not fair. And you had the potential to do that and you didn't. You grabbed life by the balls and you took advantage of it. So hats off to you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I definitely went through things as a child that I think I worked through, and I just think I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to work through it while I was younger, so it didn't affect me as I got older. But yeah,
that's what they say about doing the work. It's like
doing the work.
We don't have to get we are not defined by the things that happen to us. Oftentimes, the things that happen to us, for me, I consider they happen for me. They happen for me because what has happened in my life has created a person who, when somebody else is going through something, I am able to recognize where I can be of service to that situation. And I wouldn't trade that, I don't know. And I think it's important, like, as much of a bummer it is, as I get this too, of like, when you say how you feel based on the information that you have done work on, people who don't do work are going to be mad at you.
Totally.
You're that kid in the class that you're making us all look bad. And the reality is I go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated.
Yes.
And the circle, and the 2020 circle, it's pretty much the same size. It got real small, but now it's pretty much the same size, but the quality of my circle,
much better.
Oh my God. I don't have to hear any of the complaining and the self-victimization and can I borrow money? And like,
oh God,
you want you
were in a circle.
You don't want to loan anybody any money. Just tell them you're voting for Trump, bro. Because that's where all the losers go. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. He calls everybody, all Biden fucking people, losers. I'm like, well,
Yeah, well,
sucks to suck.
All right, we're gonna take off, and thank you, Christian, so much for coming in. And where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Christian Walker. The Ian Walker is the number 1. I have a YouTube channel, Christian Walker, and I also have a blog, thechristianwalker.com.
Jesus, I can't wait to tag all that in the fucking video.
So many things.
So I'll put all Christian's links in the fucking, you know where it is. You can find us.
You shaved your beard. You lost some brain cells. You're like, I don't remember where I'm going on.
Yeah, it's fucking 2:00 in the afternoon. It's like midday. I'm supposed to be having a nap right now. I'm 40. You can find me. I'm on Instagram, Shane.Vitko. You can find Tommy at Tommy Vext. Our Instagram is at Deviant Gentleman. Check out deviantgentleman.com for merch and news and, you know, all that fun shit. And you can find the podcast on YouTube, Deviant Gentleman Podcast. And we are also on Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things. Same thing, Deviant Gentleman Podcast. Type it all in.
Are we going to take a crew with us to the Trump rally next weekend?
Do it.
We've been talking about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Dude.
Stay tuned.
See you next Saturday.
You got anything?
No, that's it, man. I'm here. I'm living.
All right.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in. We hope that you, we take this serious, but we don't take ourselves too serious.
Right.
It's good to be light. Gotta lighten up. Gotta laugh at it.
Trump 2020.
Yeah. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
He's like Shrek without a donkey. From Ohio to Zimbabwe.